So you're headed to Big Bend National Park and are looking for the perfect itinerary. Well, stick around. I've got what I think is the greatest 3-day itinerary you're gonna find when it comes to this massive national park in the great state of Texas. Day 1, the west side. For the intent of this video, we're gonna assume that you're gonna stay somewhere in the Terlingua or Studi Butte region. Now, depending on where you're coming from, you're gonna have to drive a long way. So to start our itinerary, we're gonna assume you arrive at say 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday. Once you check into your Airbnb or your campsite, we're gonna hit the road immediately because again, there's so much to see and everything is really spread out. Our first adventure is going to be as you enter the national park from the west side, we're gonna go down Old Maverick Road. Now there's a ton of cool history and scenery along this route, but this road is going to dump you directly into Santa Elena Canyon, our first major stop of the trip. And then you'll want to do the short hike into the canyon. So this is gonna be about a 1-mile hike, so very short, minimal elevation gain, but the views here are absolutely spectacular. Once you complete your hike of the canyon, it's time to hop back in the car, but rather than going back the way we came, I'm a big fan of loops as opposed to out and backs. We're gonna head back Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive. This is another one of the must-do things in Big Bend because there are so many things to see along the way. Some of which being mule ears, Castalon Village, and our next stop, which is Sotol Vista. Welcome to Sotol Vista, one of the best spots in Big Bend National Park to watch the sunset. So you've got this really easily accessible parking lot and the views are absolutely fantastic. Once you're done watching the sunset, get your food order in at Long Draw Pizza. This is my first food recommendation of the trip. You can pick up your pizza, bring it back to your campsite, or just enjoy it there. They've got ample TVs for sporting events or whatever you may want to enjoy. Day 2, the Basin. With a full Thursday out of the way, it's time to hit the ground sprinting for Friday. Today we're gonna tackle the Basin, and my recommendation would be is get up extremely early. The goal of today is to start at the Lost Mine Trail in the Basin. And something to note with this trail, there is extremely limited parking, so getting there early is definitely in your favor. On top of watching the sunrise from this hike is absolutely magical. When it comes to bang for your buck, this 5-mile hiking trail gives you some of the best views in the park, I would argue. Welcome to Lost Mine, one of the most popular hiking trails in Big Bend. It's quite a jaunt, straight uphill. Let's do it. After you finish Lost Mine, my recommendation is to continue into the Basin and go ahead and tackle the Window. This is about a 4.7-mile hike with 700 feet of elevation gain. Mr. Bear, the theme is a hot dog a day keeps the doctor away. And just take note, most of that elevation gain is actually on the way out. As you hike down in towards where all the water flows out of the basin. Shade protection is highly advised. Oh boy. So once you wrap up your hike there, if you're feeling extremely ambitious and are looking for yet another hike, I would tack on Balanced Rock, and this is optional, but this is another great stop to wrap up your sort of basin or central park day. The Balance Rock is just this phallic, awesome feature that's kind of in the middle of this lava field, or once was a lava field. So if you're feeling ambitious, I would 100% tack this on before you head all the way back to Terralingua. Once you're back, it's up to you if you shower or not, but where we're headed, you don't necessarily need one. Going into the ghost town of Terralingua is a must-do if you're visiting the Big Bend area. There's such a rich history here. Within the little ghost town of Terralingua, there are a ton of art shops, especially the trading posts. I would recommend stopping in all of these and taking in some of the local art. Another thing you have to take in, well, I prefer to, but is the margaritas at the Starlight Theater. So getting to town early is advised, especially during the peak season out in the Big Bend area, because the line for the Starlight Theater, which is our dinner recommendation for day 2, it can get pretty long. So they open at 5 o'clock on the nose, so it's best that you be there to get your spot in line. It's essential that you go see where the ghosts are, which is in the cemetery. Once day 2 is wrapped up, your day's not over yet. Be sure to stay up and look up. The skies out here are absolutely magical, so stargazing has to be on your list. Day 3, the east side. So we've covered the west, we've covered the middle, and then today, my recommendation for day 3 is hitting up the east side. Now, this is going to be your furthest drive from home base in Terralingua. So what I would recommend is leave it a decent time, but just know during peak visiting periods in the Big Bend region, lines to enter the park can get pretty long. Be sure to pack your passport because we are going to Mexico. Now, this is a controlled crossing that's in partnership of the National Park System along with U.S. Border Patrol and Customs. Once you go through the entry, it's just a short walk down a sandy beach to get you to the Rio Grande River. Here you can pay a farrier or a guy just standing in the water $5 cash, and that will get you to and back across the Rio Grande River without you having to get wet. Once you make it across the Rio Grande, you have the option of renting a donkey or even hopping in a truck. From the Rio Grande to the actual town of Boquillas, it's about 3/4 of a mile. We opted to walk it and it was completely fine. Once in the small town of Boquillas, it's essential that you check out all of the local artisans, the food, and the drink. One option we loved, Jose Falcon's views, right? They're nestled right over the Rio Grande River, and you can actually see the national park from their awesome patio. Margaritas were fantastic. The food was phenomenal. Once you've finished eating, be sure to check out the shop that's within the Jose Falcon for handmade arts and crafts from members of the local community. For a more authentic and unique experience, if you're still hungry after walking around, I would highly recommend stopping in the Boquillas restaurant for goat tacos. And I know it sounds gross, but trust me.
We're being accosted.
Oh, gracias.
Look at her.
Don't even
in
get
her
the
romper.
bracelet.
No. Salud.
Salud.
What have we ordered here today?
Goat tacos.
Goat tacos. Have y'all had goat before?
No go before.
I don't think so.
Are we excited?
See, I don't know.
Be sure to check the schedule of when the port of entry is open, and when you cross into Mexico, just know the U.S. Customs border entry closes at 4 p.m. and we were told that there is no exceptions for letting people in. So if you don't make it back by 4 o'clock, you're staying in Mexico for the night. After you've completed your time in the east side, my recommendation would be head back to Terralingua for a relaxing evening. For food, I personally love El Gordo's Grill, which is a food truck just in town, reasonably priced, and the food is absolutely wonderful. I would take this to go, head back to camp or your Airbnb, and just relax for the evening and get ready for hopefully another night of awesome stargazing. bonus. Now you have to get out of the Big Bend region one way or another to get to the Midland Airport, El Paso, Dallas, whatever. So my recommendation would be is to leave through the east side of the park. This gives you one additional opportunity to see a magnificent sunrise in one of the most magical places in the United States. But it also allows you to go right past the fossil exhibit. Now, hear me out. You're probably thinking, what the heck? That seems so random. But this is an amazing exhibit that demonstrates some of the wildlife and how the geography used to look prior to all the volcanic activity, Pangea forming into, the continents as we know them now, and essentially what the region used to look like. It's hard to cram everything into 3 days, but when it comes to seeing the diversity of the area, these are my go-to recommendations for folks who are looking to experience all that Big Bend has to offer. Drop a comment below. Do you agree? Is there anything I missed out, which I know I did? Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and a subscribe is even better for more content like this. Wishing you safe travels and happy shooting if you're a photographer. And in the meantime, we'll catch you next time.